Kia ora, I'm Bex. I am currently a full-time master's student at Te Herenga Waka. I am writing my thesis on unpaid clinical placements, and alongside that I am running a campaign for paid training in healthcare, teaching and social work. I am campaigning for paid training for all students to be paid a stipend when they're undertaking compulsory placements as part of their university degrees. I came across the issue of unpaid placements when I was training to be a social worker. I was working as a youth worker at the time. I was earning minimum wage. I was really enjoying the social work training until the course coordinator announced that we were expected to be on placement 40 hours a week, unpaid, for up to 6 months in total. And I thought, you know what? I'm a postgraduate student, I've already got a degree, I've got 5 years of work experience, this is a profession with chronic staff shortages, and you want me to do 6 months of unpaid labour to prove my worth in this profession. And I just thought, I'm not willing to risk defaulting on my mortgage to train in this profession. There has to be a better way.
So my name's Shannon and I'm a year 3 paramedic student. So my degree, it's a 3-year Bachelor of Science degree, and you require, I don't know the hours off the top of my head, but it's typically around a few hundred hours per semester. So probably close to 1,000 hours or maybe 800 hours of the degree.
I'm in my 3rd year of the Bachelor of Social Work degree at Mass University, which I do via distance.
So essentially when we do a placement, if we're on frontline, which is like the emergency ambulances, we do a full shift round. So that's 4 days, which is 2 11-hour days, 2 13-hour nights. And you do that back to back. So you do 4 full days. So in hours, that's like what, 48, 50 hours in 4 days?
So you have 2 placements in your 3rd and 4th year. Both are 60-day placements and they are full-time. I mean, it's a requirement that I have to do for my degree. I kind of just think about it as something that I have to do.
I hear from students often about how severely they are affected by unpaid clinical placements, because for every hour that they are on clinical placement, that's an hour that they cannot be earning money. And on top of that, they have to pay for all of their course requirements. So uniforms, immunisations, hospital parking, travel expenses, secondary accommodation if they're on placement away from home, supervision for mental health students. And it's impossible. Students get $316 a week as living cost loans from StudyLink. So that's less than half the minimum wage. And somehow we expect people to do all of this unpaid labour. Then we load them up with all these additional expenses and we wonder why they're burned out and dropping out from training.
So unfortunately, because you're doing like 50 hours in 4 days, it's very tiring, but the student allowance I get is only like $230 a week, I want to say. So that's not enough to live on. So I work 21 hours a week in comms, which is like 111 calls and stuff. So the last one I did that 4 days, came off my night shift on Sunday morning, and then did a 12-hour shift on a Monday in comms to get my money that I needed for the week.
The poverty associated with unpaid placements has this really compounding effect because students, they have really heavy academic workloads. They've got to be on clinical placements. And one of the concerns about students on clinical placements is they have to travel all over the country. They're going to all these different places. Some of them are really young and it can be their first time away from home, and they're in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by people that they don't know. They don't necessarily have good support networks in place. And if they're in healthcare or mental health especially, they can be dealing with people having mental health crises, babies and mums in seriously bad ways, and they're dealing with medical emergencies, fatalities. Some of them might be witnessing death for the first time. They are exposed to extraordinary levels of trauma, and then they have to deal with the fact that they're not sure if they can pay their rent, and they're wondering how they're going to feed themselves that week. If they've got kids, how do I pay for my kids to eat, and how do I send them to school?
I mean, you need money to do some level of self-care, I think, or just to even not have the stress in the first place to require so much. You can't expect people to not take care of themselves and then take care of other people.
Even if it was $10 an hour, that's $500. I understand that I'm not at the level of a paramedic. I understand that I still need to be supervised. I'm not coming out here being like, I want the same pay. It's literally just any payment work is work.
Financial hardship for some students is so bad that there are stories of students sleeping in cars and sheds, tents and caravans. There was one student even found sleeping in a park. Right now, because of the conditions we put people through whilst they're training, we have dropout rates of up to 37% in nursing, 42% in midwifery, and 45% in social work. By comparison, the dropout rate from police training, which is paid, is 1.5%. Just in case you're in any way on the fence about whether paid training might work.
If you want paramedics, if you want nurses, if you want midwives, you need to pay them to train. Like we have half of the people that start drop out.
Pay people to do work, or don't require a placement, don't require 60 days of full-time placement if you're not going to pay people.
It won't happen in the next 6 months when I'm a student, but hopefully in the next few years something will happen, and we can actually make a difference for people that are coming through. And like, I come from a relatively well-off family, or like, you know, a middle-class family. You know, if you want more diversity in these groups, you need to actually encourage them to be able to do so.
There are a number of contributing factors to quality placements. One is that they should be paid, not just so that students actually can afford to live, but we know that the employer or the placement provider is more invested in providing quality training because it's costing them money. So they want to make sure that they're going to get a return on investment. So they are more likely to make the effort to make sure that students are meeting their learning objectives and they are getting signed off for their competencies on time, because they don't want to have to keep paying indefinitely for training. Paid training will also open up these professions to more diverse demographics: Māori, Pacifica, mature students. And the benefits of that are just unbelievable, because we know a representative workforce improves health outcomes. We want familiarity in our healthcare professionals. We seek connection with someone who understands our worldview and culture, and that is more likely to respect our way of thinking and our perception of the treatment that we need. So the ripple effects are just absolutely bountiful from paid training. It's an absolute game changer. If people want to support the campaign, they can sign and share the petition. That's super helpful. The other thing that's honestly really supportive, talk about your experience. Talk about how placement poverty sucks, how living poor as a student sucks, because this system thrives on our silence. We have to talk about this if we want to change it. So be open and speak up about it. That is phenomenally helpful.